Julia Fisher. Welcome to this week's edition of The Olive Tree, the programme that takes a look at what God is doing in Israel today. My guest today is Dani Sayag. He's pastor of the Carmel Assembly, where Paul's words in Ephesians chapter 2 about one new man can be seen. That is, Jew and Gentile together, in this case, Jew and Arab, worshipping God together, having overcome hatred and distrust one of the other. I asked Dani to explain how this has come about.
The one new man is one of the pillars and the vision of our congregation, that Jew and Gentile are one in Messiah. And for us here in the land, it's more expressed between Jews and Arabs. And I will say that, it's very challenging. The atmosphere here in the land, it's always on the verge of a war and fighting. And it's easy sometimes to connect with your own people. So for the Messianic Jews, they're more feeling for the Jewish people. The Arabs, feel for the Palestinians. And it's challenging in many other ways. But I will say that if you let the politics of this world enter the message of Yeshua, the message of Jesus, you will not experience true unity. And I saw that as long as we keep the world politics out of our calling, God can create one new man. Our calling for the Jews and for the Arabs is to reach out to our people with the gospel of Yeshua the Messiah, to disciple them. This is our calling. We are priests of the Lord. And I always remember the calling of the Levites, that God purposely didn't give them an inheritance in this world. He said, you're going to be among your people, you will serve them, you will teach them the word, you will help them, but you don't have any inheritance. And you will see that today the fighting between Jews and Arabs is over the land. This is my land and this is no, and it just go back and forward and causing tensions and war and strife. But for us as a believers, Jews and Arabs, we need to understand that we don't have an inheritance in this world. Our inheritance is in the Lord. As long as we focus ourselves and preaching the gospel to the Jews, the Arabs, God's going to bless it. So when I see Messianic Jews and Arab believers that understand that, the depth of unity can be so much stronger because we have the same calling. And I would just want to encourage even the people, the viewer, when you looked at things on the news, it's hard to take a side. And I just want to encourage you, don't take a side, because with the Lord, we have one side. He loves the Arabs, he loves the Jewish people, he wants to reveal himself to them, and we try to express the unity here. One of the ways in our congregation, we have a worship team. So every Shabbat when we meet to serve, we have Jews and Arabs in the worship team. So we will sing in Hebrew, sometimes we'll sing songs in Arabic. The people in the congregation could be Jews and Arabs. What a wonderful expression of unity. And I always say to people, if you don't like it, you will not like to be in heaven. Because in heaven, you're going to be in eternity, with people that coming from different nations and cultures and languages. And for us, it's such an expression of unity that reflects what's going to take place in heaven.
Does it take a long time to reach that point of unity? Because you have people from a Jewish background who have long memories of what's happened to them, people from an Arab background who justifiably, some would say, have human grievances. So to get to that point of unity, is it a long and painful journey?
It could be, but I will say, from personally, when I came to faith in Yeshua, I didn't like Arab people. I actually hated them. I always thought about them that they want to kill me, they want to drive me out of our land. And when I came to Yeshua, something happened in my heart. God gave me a supernatural love to my brother, the Arabs. And it was something that I couldn't do in my own strength. It was supernatural that God just took the hatred and put love. And I saw it also happening with Arab people that hated Jews, and how God put love in their heart toward Jewish people. And I would say that, praying for the peace of Jerusalem, it's not praying just that, when there is a war in Israel, but praying that the peace of God and the love of God will enter the hearts of the Jewish people and the Arab people, because When it's happened, then truly we can love one another and show the one you man.
Something that I've noticed on this trip is a sense of mission, a heart to do more mission. And I'm hearing about Jewish and Arab young believers in particular coming together with that desire to go around not just this nation, but to go abroad together.
Yeah, I mean, in the recent years, with all of the immigration of many Muslim Arabs from the countries like Syria and Iraq and places of war coming to Europe, and there is so many of them there. I know about Jews and Arabs in the land of Israel that go in there and just reaching out to them with the love of Yeshua, teaching them, making disciples. So there is a change in the heart of, I would say, especially among young people, to reach out with the love of Yeshua to the nations. But also I know about groups that are going to Africa. And we're thinking, even in our congregation, the youth group planning sometime next year to do also a mission trip and to just go out and express God's love. And this is the calling of this nation. It's to go out and be a light to the nations.
So this is an ancient prophecy that you're seeing coming about today?
Oh, yes. When it says that the law will go from Zion, that is actually what it's mean, that God's word will go from this country to the nations.
Could we just spend a few moments now looking in the New Testament from Matthew 23 and 24 about what Jesus had to say about what would happen before he returns? Now, the return of Jesus, is this something that you talk about here?
The question of the end times, it's very blessing when you're teaching it the right way and you put attention in the right way. But also it could be very dangerous things if it's becoming your main message and your main focus. And we saw, not just in our generation, but even before, how end times teaching caused people really to lose their focus on what they're supposed to do now. People could be so caught up in the end times and thinking, oh, Yeshua is coming now, and this is happening, and this is one is the Antichrist, and they're just busy with this thinking, going to conferences about it and reading books about it, when the harvest is now. And so we teach about the end times. We don't say to people when it's going to take place, but we see it coming closer and closer. And as Yeshua said, it's wars and rumors of war, earthquake, love of people will grow cold in the end time. So it's happening and it's getting closer. But in the same time, we are equipping our people to reach out with the gospel of Yeshua.
Jesus said that he would come back when the gospel has been preached around the whole world. Is there that sense that it's coming back to Israel again and then going out from here again?
Yeah, this is when you say all world, it seems like the gospel is almost reached all world, and so it sounds like very close. But I think, God is giving us time now to use this time and reach out with the gospel. I think this is His mercy that's showing up to the people, not only the people of Israel, but also the people of the nations of the world. And we as a believer need to be focused on that. And I know that even England, especially England and America, known by sending so many missionaries to the world and preaching with the gospel, and now it's so much less. And I believe that God is calling this nation that led before, again, to be focused and sending workers to the rest of the world, that the day will come that truly we can say that the gospel preached for all nations. And Israel is part of that. Also, God is going to do it, use this nation to reach out to the nations of the world.
Jesus also talked about the fig tree. He said, look at the fig tree. Look at when it's in bud. What's your understanding of that?
Yeah, for me, when you say the fig tree, it's meaning, when Israel is blossoming, like the fig tree. So put attention what's happening here. And so when people look at Israel and what God is doing here, it's easy to get focused only on the negative side, the wars and the Palestinian conflict with Israel. But there is so much more to Israel. You see, like I said in the beginning, the blossoming of this nation. I mean, it's amazing how such a tiny nation can impact the world and through technology. I mean, there is so many things that Israel is creating to be a blessing to the nations of the world, and also the spiritual restoration that we start seeing here. You know, for 2,000 years, God was moving in the nation, but in the last 72 years and even before that, God set his eyes on this nation, and he's restoring this nation. So, you know, not many people saw what God is doing in this nation. When people read prophecies over Israel before Israel became a nation, they couldn't imagine what's happening. And some of them even came with ideas that, okay, now Israel it's not really the Jewish people, it's the church, because there is no Israel. The Jewish people scattered all over the world. So when you read back then prophecies, you couldn't understand. But some preachers like Spurgeon that brought a message, I believe it was 1800, about the dry bones from Ezekiel 37. He said, God is going to bring back his people here. And it's going to be physical restoration, but also spiritual restoration. And the people of Israel will know Yeshua, the Messiah. So he saw it before Israel became a nation. And after Israel became a nation, suddenly prophecies became more sense. Oh, God is bringing his people. Well, we see it. God is going to pour his spirit. Oh, there is a messianic body here in the land, and it's growing. So this is, for me, when you talk about the fig tree, this is an amazing prophecy that has been fulfilled.
You've been listening to Dani Sayag, pastor of a congregation in northern Israel where Jews and Arabs meet together. The Olive Tree Reconciliation Fund is a Christian charity based in the UK that supports the needs of both Jewish believers and Arab or Palestinian Christians living in Israel and the wider Middle East. If you'd like to know more about our work through our bi-monthly newsletter, including news about our upcoming tours, please either visit our website www.olivetreefund.org or write to me, Julia Fisher, OTRF, PO Box 402, Billingshurst, RH14 4BQ in the UK. Meanwhile, join me at the same time next week for another story from the Olive Tree. Until then, goodbye.